My name is Bethy, and I'm very pleased to be here. I love this topic because I was once a victim and I didn't even know that I needed that inner healing. So after going through several healing mentorships and coaching, I realized this was actually my niche. And because I was working with even children and adults who had serious problems, I was better equipped to help them. So my area of expertise is healing the wounded soul. So what is a wounded soul? Does anybody know what a wounded soul is? Does anyone want to share, or do you just want me to share everything? Do you know what a wounded soul is? If you don't know, I'll just give you an idea. The soul is made up of three parts. There is the emotions, there is the mind, and there is the free will. So if one of those or all of those are wounded, then you will not have the quality of life that you are created to have. So what causes soul wounds? Soul wounds are caused by trauma. And what is trauma? Most of us actually don't even know that we were born with trauma. Trauma is a series of painful past experiences. And trauma actually starts on the day you are conceived in your mother's womb. You may actually tell somebody who is wounded in the soul from your behaviors, your identity. Let's say you are at school, you are all university students, some of you are university graduates. You are struggling to even pass the exams. It's usually a sign of trauma. You may not even know it, because I was doing my master's. It took me, I did the master's 7 times before I passed. The same thing with my first degree. I was very intelligent at school, but when it came to writing exams, I would always fail. I didn't realize that there were some past painful experiences that were responsible for my academic achievements. So trauma is the root cause of the soul wounds. So in order to be healed from the soul wound, you need to address the trauma, which is the painful past experiences. A wounded soul is made up of the wounded emotions, the wounded mind, and the wounded self-will. That the self-will comes from discipline. You can't discipline yourself. You see food, you want to eat. You see a woman, you want to go out with them. You have many girlfriends, many boyfriends, lack of self-discipline. So if any of that is happening to you, that is trauma. You are going through trauma and you have to deal with it before it explodes to something else. Because mental health is just a fruit of the trauma. The trauma is the root. So if somebody is going through mental health challenges, you need to look at the root. Where did this come from? You need to get help as soon as possible. If you go through the inner healing, those things that you think are daily occurrences, which are normal, because we have embraced abnormalities to be normal. We were not created to be having those mood swings. We were not created to have emotion, those negative emotions, self-talk. So once you go through the healing, you'll be able to you actually manage to deal with those negative emotions, those mood swings, because you are healed, you are whole. Because trauma makes you, like you are not whole. So when you go through the healing, you become whole. Things that would bother you, a person who has never gone through the healing will not bother someone who is healed, because you know how to deal with it. Somebody comes to you with an attitude. You don't see the person as the problem. You see a different picture. You just know, what, this person needs help. And because of that training that you've had, you even know how to talk to the person, to the extent of the person will be like, wow, I really want to be like you. They'll come and annoy you, but you won't be annoyed. You won't be moved. You'll find a way of dealing with that annoyance. And that person will even want to be like you. So usually all these things that we have gone through, I was like that. I've shared. I failed several times and I was very intelligent. But I didn't even know. It was a trauma that happened to me in high school. I led a friend we broke up our friendship, and she started calling me names. So that actually affected, because she was a friend I met at school. So my schooling, my education was affected because there was like a very strong bond. There was a very strong tie. And because it came from there, it started affecting my education. From someone who was one of the best achievers in school, all of a sudden my concentration level was affected. My focus level was affected. My memory was affected, because every time I'll always relate being at school with what this lady did to me. So sometimes there's just one thing that happened to you. It becomes a trigger, and you need to find out what is it that happened to me, so that you deal with it from the root. Once you deal with it from the root, your life becomes normal. You can see opportunities, because when you're going through the trauma, the soul wounds, they even stop you from seeing opportunities. All you see is problems. But someone who is healed, I moved back to Nairobi and I'm like, wow, this is the land of opportunities. But people tell me, I'm praying to go out of the country. There's so many opportunities out there. But I see the opportunities here. Because I'm healed, I can see. It's like a veil of deception is lifted off your eyes once you get healing. So it's very important, because what trauma also does, it kinds of like stamps, a rubber stamp of rejection. You go for job interviews, you don't get them. You train yourself, like your CV has been written by the best in the market. You go for a job interview, but there's something, that transference. I was talking to that young girl, she's a psychologist. There's that transference, that energy. When you enter into the room, that rejection speaks about you. The person who is interviewing you, it's a silent, it's an unspoken thing. The person will just find, no, I don't think I'll take this one. She's good on paper, but there's something about her. And nobody understands, unless maybe you're a psychologist, you've been trained, then you'll understand actually there's something deeper. Because human beings, we relate with each other at another level. It's not like animals. Animals relate with each other through instinct. For us, we have the sixth sense, and the sixth sense is deep. And that's why even when it comes to marriages, it's the same. Marriages are failing to work because of the same thing, trauma. This man has his traumas. This woman has his traumas. They come together, double trauma, double portion. You can't even live together. 6 months down the line, marriages are broken. So these are the things that we need to work on, especially the youth. Your parents, when they gave birth to you, you need to find out, Mom, how did you feel when you heard that, you're expecting me? Because even the words are so powerful. Maybe your mother was not even, she was a university student. She got pregnant, she didn't plan. And she goes to the doctor, maybe she had malaria, and then she's told you're pregnant. The first thing, oh my God, I wish I could get rid of it. Rejection is born in the stomach. Just from the words of somebody who is in authority over your life. They completely mess your life. You find everywhere you go rejection, because your mother rejected you while you're in the womb. And so when you work with there's counselors in the country, there's inner healing coaches like me in the country. When you work with us, we work with you. We work, in fact, I prefer working with the parents. That is the foundation. The teachers, the church you go to, there's a lot of problems in the church. Many people have stopped going to church because they are also wounded in church. The society, the society expects you to look a certain way. If you don't look that certain way, they call you names. The power of words destroys you completely without even you realizing, because you came into agreement with what they said about you. Because, we are so innocent. A young child is told, you'll never amount to anything. And they believe it because it's an adult who is talking about it. Sixth sense is the intuition. You know how sometimes you are in a house, if a bad person comes in, something will tell you this person is not good. That is a gift every human being has been given by God. So it's just something that it's an awareness. You see a thief, you can tell this is a thief. Usually 90%, unless maybe, you are like, no, maybe he's not a thief. But there's something about, you wake up in the morning, you decide today, let me go, sixth sense is intuition. Does that make sense to you? The feeling that you get, like this person can help me, that is a sixth sense, it's intuition.
So, can I ask, are we in control or not?
Sorry?
Are we in control? In control?
Yes, if you are healed, because when you are healed, you become whole. The way God created you. Because if you are a Christian or a Muslim, you know that the plans of God for our lives are for good, not for evil. So anything that is evil is not God's plan. So when you are healed, you become whole. You become God's plan, the original plan God created you. That's what you become. So everything that is a promise to the original that you are created becomes automatically yours. So even that sixth sense, the intuition becomes yours. Like you meet somebody, the police, the people who are in the CID, they walk and they can tell this is a terrorist. This one, there's something about intuition. It's a gift, but it can be enhanced through further training. That's why I was really glad when Dennis talked about lifelong learning. The more you go through healing, the more you go further training. There are some things that become open, they become more, things become more clear. Because that veil, which was on your eyes, falls off. And remember, never blame yourself for the circumstances you are going through. It has nothing to do with you. Usually it's bigger than what you see. Because you can only see the fruit. You are the fruit. I am the fruit. They are fruits. But there is a root that nobody knows what is inside the soil. The root can be our parents, even our grandparents. The root can be the government, the society we've grown up in. Like now, I believe people will start paying school fees. There are some parents who are being affected by the government policy that they have to pay school fees. That already, the mother is anxious. Is my child going to go to school? That anxiety is transferred to the child because that is transformed trauma. Transformed trauma becomes transferred trauma. That child in that house is also going through a lot of stress. Without even knowing, the child goes to school, they are beaten up, they are bullied, or they become bullies. All these things are just fruits of something very deep, which is the root.